Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and I got a fun show on tap for all of you. We are going to talk about A.J. Cole because he did sign an extension yesterday, and I'm going to be honest, I kind of want to get into a fun little debate that I saw on social media, so that's going to be one of the things that we talk about today. I'm also going to take a little bit of a deep dive into some of the NFL rumors that ended up going down today. Chris Olave, Kirk Cousins, because I do think that those two names are names that I've seen talked about in regards to the Raiders. Not Cousins, more Olave. But I do think both of those players could potentially impact the silver and black. And I'll tell you about why I think that coming up here in a little bit. I also got to tell you this. I am going to the Texas Rangers baseball game today with Alex's family. So because of that, today's show is going to be a little bit shorter. I'll probably be live for a good 80 minutes, maybe 90 minutes overall, so please just keep that in mind. My question to you is this. Because the A.J. Cole extension ended up going down over the weekend, 4 years, $15.8 million, with $11 million guaranteed. I actually went back, Chugs, and I looked at our video that we did probably like 2.5, 3 months ago. It was extension candidates. The four players that we talked about that would get an extension this year by the Raiders. Number one was Max Crosby.
Yep.
We actually had A.J. Cole number 4 on that list. Colton Miller, number 2. Jacoby Myers was number 3. Daniel Carlson was actually number 5. We'll see if he ends up getting one. But who ends up getting extended next year for the Raiders? If you guys think it's going to be Colton Miller, go KM. Jacoby Myers, JM. Or do you think it's going to be somebody else? Type that name down below. I would imagine it's Colton Miller.
Yeah. And this is actually, I have a fun question. While y'all get y'all's answers in, I have a fun question for you, Mitch.
All right, I'm listening.
Do these players get extended before the Raiders sign another marquee free agent?
The answer should be yes. Like, I know the Raiders have added players. They've added names. Like, Jalen Smith to me is a name that people recognize at home, but I don't look at that as like a marquee type of NFL free agent signing out there. So to me,
like a Justin Simmons or
yeah, you got to get the Colton Miller, Jacoby Myers deal done, which honestly, I'm actually kind of surprised that it's not already done. The date that I was kind of had in my mind was June 10th because that's mandatory minicamp. I was actually also surprised that a deal got done over the weekend because I know Spytek isn't in Las Vegas. Spytek is in Tampa Bay right now, and he's going to be in Tampa Bay for another like 4 or 5 days.
Wow, he just can't let go.
Oh, he's just I don't know why he's in Tampa Bay, but I just know he went there for about 10 days or so.
I heard it's because he missed it so much.
I hope that's not the reason. I hope that's not the reason. I actually, one of the reasons why, though, I was talking – I can't say that. I was talking to somebody that knows Spytek very closely, and they told me that he was going down to Tampa for 10 days. I have no idea why. But I think a lot of people right now are sitting up here going KM for Colton Miller. Though, when I sat back and I looked at the A.J. Cole extension, I was happy that it ended up getting done because, honestly, it was a deal that, not that I didn't think about, but because he had 1 year left, I really thought that Miller and Jacoby were going to be the deals that ended up happening first. But A.J. Cole is the best punter in the NFL, and if he's not the best punter in the NFL, then he's top 2. I just don't think that he's number 2. Other NFL news and rumors also is going to be a segment here on today's show. Again, I appreciate the 300 people here that are in the building. Hopefully you guys had a great 3-day weekend. Hopefully you also remembered why we had a 3-day weekend. And shout out to LA Crash Dog. Shout out to everybody that pulled up on the show Friday. Again, deep love to everybody that always shows love to us here. But 916 Raiders says Colton Miller. Malcolm Kuntz, number 2. Malcolm's not going to get an extension because the Raiders re-signed him. And then Jacoby's at number 3. Yeah, not the Malcolm Kuntz extension, if it were to happen, would be right before the NFL trade deadline. And I would say it would be like Malcolm tells the Raiders, hey, I'll sign a 1-year, $12 million deal with you. But if I go out there and I ball out the first 7-8 weeks of the season right before the deadline, I'm going to want a brand new deal. I'll be honest, though, I don't think that Malcolm would ask for that because if he is out there balling, he's going to want to hit the open market.
Yeah, agreed.
So I don't think Malcolm's going to have that necessarily happen. Let's talk about this because Kirk Cousins is going to be a topic that we talk about today. And I know this is the Raiders Report, but one of the things that I really wanted to try to do a better job of this offseason is instead of just talking Raiders rumors, which we do talk a lot about Raiders rumors, I wanted to talk about NFL news that is going on that could impact the Raiders. And I actually do think this Kirk Cousins story could impact the Las Vegas Raiders, and I'll tell you guys about that here in a moment. But right now, you're sitting here. Do you think Cousins is a Falcon, or are you going, no chance, he's going to be with somebody else?
I think there's no chance just because it doesn't make sense for either side, right? For the Falcons, if you can get something for him before you let him go or have to release him, that's a win.
Yeah.
And if you're Kirk Cousins, you have, 1-2 years maybe left in the NFL? You want to be a starter.
He wants to be a starter. He's got 3 years left on that contract, and the contract's
even though if it was me, I'd be cool being a backup for $30 million.
I agree.
If you told me, hey, you don't get to play, but I'm paying you $30 million, I'd be like, deal.
Yes, that sounds great. Because then his cap hits in 2026 and 2027 is $57.5 million. And I think that people believe that Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback, but how many teams out there right now are going after the NFL draft, after free agency? To me, the only team that I could say goes out and tries to get Cousins, I think they're going to go get Aaron Rodgers.
The Steelers, yeah, I could see that. Or, you never know with
that's what Rebel just said, Pittsburgh. But
teams that are, dealing with injuries or whatnot, I see.
Rebel said he's better than Rodgers. Who's a better quarterback, Kirk Cousins or Aaron Rodgers? Because I'll be honest, I'd rather have Aaron Rodgers than Kirk Cousins.
I think it's Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, Cousins to start the year last season did look good. And then the way he played, like the final, 5 games, it was like 1 touchdown, 10 interceptions. I can remember talking about the stats because it was right around when the Raiders were getting ready to play Atlanta.
I also don't see the Saints trading for him because if I'm the Falcons,
I agree, Husker.
Why would you trade a quarterback to a division rival that you'll have to play twice a year?
Agreed.
Like, if I'm the Falcons, no way am I helping out the Saints. Like, I would cut Kirk Cousins before I traded him to the Saints.
See, the only way that I could see the Falcons trading him to the Saints is not so much like, I don't know if it helps the Saints because they're in such cap hell that I almost wonder if they're like, well, if I could get something in return and if I could offload, like, is offloading Kirk Cousins' contract onto the New Orleans Saints? Like, sure, the Saints are probably a better football team with Cousins, but then also if I'm Atlanta going, well, we know Cousins stinks because we know he's not healthy, and, like, let's just give New Orleans that contract.
Yeah.
I also don't think that the Saints would be a team that ends up getting the deal. Quite frankly, I think if Cousins is traded, he's going to go to the AFC because I would say the teams in the AFC, there's a lot more teams that potentially need a quarterback. What up, Big Luck? I see you down there below. Ed Robbins. Kirk will go to a team that needs a starting caliber quarterback. I hear you, Ed. The problem is, though, which team needs a starting quarterback at this point in the offseason? Not named the Pittsburgh Steelers, because it sounds like the Steelers still have their eyes on Rodgers.
Yeah, and I see people saying the Vikings. I think they're going to try to at least go with JJ, especially because they let Sam Darnold walk.
Bingo. Like, you don't let Sam Darnold go after throwing 35 touchdowns if you're not confident in J.J. McCarthy.
Sneaky team, the Colts. Anthony Richardson sucks.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones
sucks. Now, I'll tell you what. Indy could be a good one. Would Cleveland do it?
They took 2 quarterbacks, though.
Took 2 quarterbacks. They have Kenny Pickett.
They traded for one and Kenny Pickett.
Oh, dude.
And they signed one in.
There's the old expression, if you got 2 quarterbacks, how many you have? I looked at the Browns quarterback room today, and I was really like, well, what happens if you have 5?
Yeah.
Because I think they also have, Flacco, right?
Yeah.
Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, Shadeur Sanders.
Another one where it's like.
That's brutal.
Another sneaky one, and this is really depending on how this guy or how their starter looks in the preseason and going into the regular season. The Jets. They didn't.
Interesting.
They didn't.
Fields is basically on a 1-year prove-it deal.
They didn't give Fields a ton of money. It's a prove-it deal.
$30 million. $30 million guaranteed.
Yeah.
I think the other part where do you think Cousins – because Cousins actually has a no-trade clause. Do you think that there is a scenario where a team tries to make a deal for Cousins and he goes, I don't want to go play there? Because I also agree that he's only going to want to go play somewhere where he feels like he can start. And if another team were to make a trade for him, if he were to say, well, no, I'm not going to be the starter there. I think the Cousins situation is the exact thing that I am glad the Raiders did not do. And I know there was a lot of Raiders fans out there that wanted Shadeur Sanders at 6, and I'm not trying to bring up the whole Shadeur conversation again. But I do think in life, whether it's history or, in our situation here at the NFL, you have to learn from the past. And I was really concerned that the Raiders were going to go out and get a Geno Smith, just like Atlanta went out and got a Kirk Cousins, and then they're going to draft a quarterback high, and now they put themselves in a really shitty situation and, kind of wasted, not that they wasted the Penix pick, but you either wasted the Penix pick or you wasted all that money you gave Kirk Cousins. Both of those are kind of in that realm.
Tough.
Let's go to my man Rebel. Marsh wins bingo as he hit every emotion. Let's go Knicks in 6. Yeah, my guy Marshall Green, the Knicks channel, dude, it's been popping over there. But at the same time, the NBA playoffs, especially this Knicks-Pacers series, I would say has been the most entertaining series. Though the Celtics series was also extremely entertaining.
Yeah, this is different. I feel like this is different, though. Every single game, I feel like it's coming down to the last shot.
Yeah, I mean, we were just talking about Cat.
After all that?
Yeah, the cat memes are unbelievable. Raider Muerte sending in the good vibes. Muerte, greatly appreciate you, my dude. So to the 400 people that we got on today's show, since we are only doing 2 segments, I did say that, you know what, let's go ahead and let's do a duck race. So if you want to get in, it's $10 to get in. I'm at Mitchell Renz 365. But here's the thing. I am running the duck race at 5:20 p.m. Eastern time. 4:20 my time. You have exactly 67 minutes to get in, okay? Almost 69, Rebel. I try to do you a solid. For Rebel, I'll give him 69 minutes to get in. But I have to go to a baseball game today. Again, Alex's family ended up getting tickets, and I'm not going to leave them hanging. So I got to get out of work today a little bit early. So just so you all know, we are going to do a $10 duck race at Mitchell Renz 365 if you want a chance to get in and win a little bit of money. To the 373 people, if you haven't already, make sure you guys click that like button. And I'm ready to get into the very first segment up on today's show. And it's going to be some of the Raiders news, rumors, and I'm going to be honest. I'm going to say something probably at the top of this show that's going to be eye-popping. It's probably going to rub some people the wrong way, but that's okay, right? I want people to be able to have a healthy conversation, whether it's in the comments. I saw some people going back and forth at each other. I also saw a super chat just come in from White Hat, which, do you want to get to that one after the first segment?
It's up to you.
Let's get. We could do it now. White Hat's here. He sent in a 20. Good afternoon, fellas. Quick question. Why do we have Parham ahead of Meredith at left guard? Seems Meredith has done well. I'd let Parham compete on the right side. Great vid on Geno, by the way. I agree. He'll surprise, in my opinion. Thank you very much. If you guys haven't seen my last 2 videos that I put out on the Raiders Report, it was PFF had Geno Smith as a top 10 quarterback. And then also, I think that Geno is one of the most underrated quarterbacks, and sneakily does a lot of things at an elite level. When you pair that with some of the things that the Raiders have done this offseason, I think it's going to be a good marriage. But it's, to me, the depth chart that I have that I'm showing right now is the depth chart that the Raiders are kind of saying what they're going with. So right now, Colton Miller, going to be your left tackle. Left guard is between Dylan Parham and Jordan Meredith. And the only reason why I have Parham over Meredith is because, one, I do think Parham, from what I have seen so far, is the more reliable offensive lineman, though Jordan Meredith has played very well in short stints. It's just, can Meredith do it for a long haul? Yes, he was really good last season in a short stint. Can he do it for the long haul? Parham's also got, 3 years of NFL starting experience, 2 at left guard. He had 1 at right guard, so that's kind of why we've had him on top. But Alex Kappa is right now the reported starting right guard. DJ Glaze is the reported started right tackle. JPJ's the center. So that's why Parham and Meredith right now is where that battle's going down. Though, White Hat, if you want to check out a video that I did earlier in the week, it was illustrating essentially Parham, Meredith, and that entire Raiders offensive line battle. It was one of the many videos that I did last week, but really appreciate this super chat. All right, y'all, let's get into the very first Question here on today's show, or show on today's show. Robert says Parham can't do for the long haul. I mean, Parham has been up and down. Like, no doubt about it. He's been up and down. He's also had 4 different offensive line coaches, 3 different coaches in general, head coaches, a lot of different offensive coordinators, a lot of different quarterbacks, a lot of different movement on that offensive line. And when I actually think about the type of player that Parham is, I think putting Parham next to or in between Colton Miller and JPJ, you're going to get the best qualities out of Parham, where when you put Parham and Andre James next to each other, if I'm a defensive lineman, if I'm a defensive coordinator, like that's the area that I'm going to go out and I'm going to target. And last season with Parham, it was Andre James and a rookie in DJ Glaze. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm a defensive coordinator, that's the side of the offensive line I'm scheming up for most of the time. And honestly, like, that's what happened to the Las Vegas Raiders. So Parham is good, and that's where I think he is. I don't think he's great. I don't think he's average. I think he is a good offensive lineman. Put him in the right scheme, surround him with the right people. He can be a solid player. All right, y'all, I want to get into the very first segment again. I'm sorry that I'm kind of hustling through this a little bit. It's just, I wanted to be able to go live today. I knew that we weren't live, yesterday for our Madden stream. So I still wanted to be able to break down some of the stuff that happened over the weekend and some of the interesting NFL rumors that were trending today on social media. You ready to go? Chugs is ready to rock. I'm ready to rock, which means let's get the Raiders Report show started right now. If you're looking for Raiders news all off season long, make sure you hit that big old red button underneath this video that says subscribe, and make sure you turn on those notifications. I also say that because the off season is prime time for Raiders rumors, and it's important to know which rumors make sense and which rumors are just trying to get you to click on it. I don't do clickbait here. I do talk about rumors, but it's because they got some legit legs to those rumors. Coming up here, let's talk about some of these news and rumors on today's show. The Raiders rumors on today's show is A.J. Cole, the greatest Raiders punter of all time. I'm going to give you my 2 cents on this one. Then, could football actually be returning to the city of Oakland? We'll break that story down. And then at the very, very end, Decamerion Richardson, does he have a shot to start this upcoming season? One of the Raiders beat reporters put out there that he might be the starter this year. Let's first talk about A.J. Cole, because over the weekend, he became the highest paid punter in the NFL, signing a 4-year, $15.8 million deal with $11 million guaranteed. I love this deal because the deal tied Cole to the Raiders until 2029, which means that Cole is tied now with somebody like John Spytek and even potentially tied with Pete Carroll, who's got 3 to 4 year option. But he's going to be a free agent in the year 2030 at age 34. So the question that I'm going to ask all of you today is A.J. Cole the greatest Raiders punter of all time? And sometimes you might roll your eyes to that statement because, again, we're talking about a punter. But if you go out and you talk to a lot of NFL people out there in terms of which team might have the best special teams unit of all time with Seabass, Ray Guy, Shane Leckler, a lot of people are going to talk about the silver and black. To me, though, I'm going to give this one 2 just win babies, and I'm going to say people are talking. It's too early to say that A.J. Cole is the greatest Raiders punter of all time. But let me be very clear. He is trending in that direction. And I do really think that this could end up being a conversation that we have when it's all said and done. Yes, Cole is the highest paid punter in the NFL, and I saw my guy on Twitter. His name's Tristan Kuhn. Some of you might have known him from his old IG days as Raider Scout, but he said in quotes, will very likely end up being the best punter in Raiders history. And obviously, when you hear something like that, I think instantly people go, Shane Leckler, at least I did, Ray Guy, instantly thought about it. And I sat back and I go, well, I got to look at the numbers first, because I'll be real, I don't really analyze punter numbers super in depth, but when you see the numbers that A.J. Cole is putting up, you're also going to go, yeah, there's a chance that he might be the greatest Raiders punter of all time. So the pinned comment on today's show is this, and I think that this is going to be one of those shows where you're going to flex your Raiders muscles. You're going to flex to see how much of a real one you are, because not only are you watching Raiders videos on May 27th, we're talking about flipping punters. That is the definition of a real one. So let me know down below who is the best Raiders punter of all time. One of the things that I really, really wanted to look at, though, is the number aspect side of it. Because to me, I think of Ray Guy and I think of A.J. Cole as the first two names here. When you look at just the overall punts, yards, I look at average. So right now you can already see Cole's got a massive upgrade in terms of Ray Guy overall punt average. Then you can see the touchback percentage. The lower the number there, the better the number there. And then you can see the percentage of how often Cole's kicking it inside the 20. I'm telling you this, 44.9%. I don't think people realize how elite that truly is, and it's why he is an all-pro. But to me, the greatest Raiders punter is Shane Lechler with over 1,444 punts, almost 69,000 yards and punting yards. And I'll be real, I think A.J. Cole at this point, you could say is a better punter than somebody like Ray Guy. But I do not think that you could say A.J. Cole is a better punter than the numbers that Shane Lechler put up just because of how long of a career that he had. The touchback percentage, the inside the 20 percentage. I get that football is played a lot differently in today's day and age, but I mean this. If A.J. Cole does exactly what Cole has done, even if he falls off just a little bit over the next 5 years, you're going to sit back and you're going to go, man, I actually think that A.J. Cole was the greatest Raiders punter of all time. And when we have an opportunity to say that, especially because this is an organization that has all of that great history, I think it just goes to show how great of a player Cole is. Which, again, sometimes you don't want your punter on the field, but being able to see A.J. Cole out there, he was super excited over the weekend. I don't know if you guys saw the video that his wife, I believe it's his wife, fiance, ended up posting of him dancing. A.J. Cole was happy that he just got paid. And you know what, man? He deserved it. Let's go to the next story here on the Raiders Report is football returning to Oakland. Oh, man, I can remember the final game in Oakland, and I saw more Raiders fans cry that day than probably I've ever seen a bunch of old men cry ever. But hey, maybe football is going to be returning to Oakland. I'm going to give this one 2 just win babies. And I'm also going to say that there is a 50-50 shot that there will be football back in Oakland. NFL football? No. UFL football? Potentially. Now, if you didn't see this report over the weekend, according to Mark Perry of the UFL News Hubcom, whatever the heck you want to call that. Yeah, I know I said that wrong. His sources state that NFL legend Tom Brady is interested in purchasing a UFL team. This comes after reports of the UFL filing for trademarks, which includes the Oakland Invaders, Tampa Bay Bandits, Philadelphia Stars, and the New Jersey Generals. Now, here's the one thing. I know that Tom Brady won a Super Bowl with the Bucs in 2020, and right now a lot of the reports, or a lot of the rumors, let's call it, are kind of indicating that if a team were to happen, it would be down in Tampa Bay. It wouldn't be in the city of Oakland. But here's the other thing that we got to talk about. If the Raiders are going to take a team, and if they're going to take them back to Oakland, I know that the Oakland Invaders was something at one point, and the Oakland Invaders, for those of you that do not know, when the Oakland Raiders ended up going to Los Angeles, the UFL, I believe it was the UFL, ended up making a team, and they were called the Oakland Invaders. Here's where their helmets, here are the colors, here's what we're working with, right? And this was a team, I believe it was from 1983 to 1985, so it wasn't a long time. And it was essentially made in spite of, they're like, all right, you're going to leave Oakland, you're going to go to L.A., we're going to invent the Oakland Invaders. My problem with this idea is I actually think it's a cool idea to have football go back to Oakland. I really do. I think that a lot of people would actually support that team because how many fans, miss having football in Oakland. But, let's be very, very clear here. If you're actually, and I'm looking at you, Tom Brady, if you actually are going to go, all right, I'm going to make a team and I'm going to put them in Oakland, bro, you got to change that logo. You got to change the helmet. You got to change the team colors, and I get it. The Oakland Invaders did happen, and I get it was from 1983, 84, and 85, and there's some history there. But there's a 0% chance that you're going to have any success because what you're hoping is I think that teams that rocked with the Oakland Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders, Los Angeles Raiders, also rock with the Oakland Invaders. I am not wearing anything Oakland Invaders related if it just looks like a knockoff of Charger stuff. And let's be honest. That's what the Oakland Invaders look like, a knockoff of Charger stuff. It needs to be silver and black. I think there needs to be a shield, and if you just put invaders on it, it would sell. Because I'll tell you this, I would buy one. So I think if I would buy one, other people would buy one. Speaking of buying one, if you're trying to get some Raiders gear, we actually have a bunch of Raiders gear that is on sale right now. I also know that Father's Day, it's right around the corner, right? And I never know what to get my dad, and I'm sure a bunch of y'all out there, when people ask you, what should I get you? You're like, oh, I don't really care. And maybe guys don't really care about that type of stuff, but I do know this. You always want to make sure that you get the people that are most important in your life something special. I also know that I don't really shop for myself too often, but when I do, I usually buy myself Raiders gear, right? So if you need a Raiders hat, a sweatshirt, a t-shirt, shoes, I even saw purses in there if you want to get your wife or significant other something. If you need anything Raiders related, right now is like the perfect time to get it because they're always like restocking, getting ready for the new season. So there's a lot of good sales on some of the stuff that didn't sell last year, but it's still great Raiders stuff. So chatsports.com/Raiders sale. That link's down in the comments and in the description of today's show. Let's go to the final story here on today's episode of the Raiders Report, and it's Decamerion Richardson going to be starting this upcoming season. When I first started doing the Raiders Report, I would go around in the offseason and I would look for articles from whoever was willing to write an article, and I'd give my 2 cents on that report, give the 2 cents on the article in general, and that's how the Just Win Babies or the Chucky Heads were invented. In terms of Decamerion Richardson starting this upcoming season, I'm going to give this one 0 Just Win Babies, and I'm going to say tuck rule, tuck that. I'm not saying that there's a 0% chance that Richardson could start at some point this season because injuries obviously happen. I am simply saying there is a 0% chance that Richardson starts week 1 of the NFL season. And I'm breaking this down because I saw Hondo Carpenter from Sports Illustrated say Richardson will battle for a starting role. I mean this in the most respectful way possible. We got to stop considering Hondo an insider. He is a great dude, and I know how difficult it is to make it in this industry. But there's a difference between being somebody who talks about it, gives their opinion, me, and then being an insider. And unfortunately, I don't really think the Raiders actually have an insider right now, just a bunch of people that like to talk about the football team. That's okay. But we also can't say just because something comes from Hondo or Sports Illustrated that, bang, it's a report. And oftentimes, and I'm just being very transparent, when Hondo says something, I get people coming to me and they go, well, what do you think about it? With all due respect, just because Hondo says it, I actually don't really think that there's a lot of legs to it. I think he's just giving his opinion, and giving in your opinion is okay. But to me, I don't know how you could look at what the Raiders did this offseason and go, Decamerion Richardson's going to be battling for a starting spot. Every player under the sun is going to be battling for a starting spot, and that's just the way Pete Carroll works. But anybody can say you're going to start. I think it's going ahead and giving that extra analysis saying, you know what, he's not actually going to be starting for that, or battling for that starting spot. In all honesty, I think Decamerion Richardson's battling for a cornerback 3, cornerback 4 spot. And the reasons why I don't think Richardson is going to start this upcoming season is, first off, they drafted Darian Porter. Now, I get it. If you looked at Richardson, height, length, he has everything that Pete Carroll looks for in a cornerback. That's a cold, hard fact. But I also look at Darian Porter, and I look at Decamerion Richardson, and I go, I think everything that Decamerion Richardson brings to the table, Darian Porter just brings it to the table a little bit better. And then on top of that, he's only been playing corner for a short amount of time, and he was drafted by this regime. So already off the jump, in my mind, I go, Decamerion Richardson will not start over Darian Porter. Then the Raiders this offseason, they go out, they sign Eric Stokes, and I get it. Eric Stokes is a former first-round pick, long, lanky, athletic guy, has yet to prove anything, but this regime went out and they signed him this offseason. You go look at a lot of the moves that the Raiders made this offseason, and those are going to be the players that I think play a heavy role early on. On top of that, the last time that we heard Pete Carroll speak about the DBs, the one name that he brought up right away was Eric Stokes. So to me, I think Eric Stokes is over Decamerion Richardson. Then let's go to the name that this regime did not bring in, Jacorian Bennett. And I know that Jacorian Bennett rubbed some people the wrong way when he was a rookie. He was not good as a rookie. But the step that he took forward as a sophomore, he was the best Raiders cornerback last season. And I don't think that you can dispute that. He was better than Jack Jones. He was better than Nate Hobbs. I don't give a shit what anybody says. Jacorian Bennett was better than Nate Hobbs. So in my mind, I'm going, well, how can you put Richardson over Jacorian Bennett? So if he's not over Porter, if he's not over Eric Stokes, and if he's not over Jacorian Bennett, well, that means he has to start at the nickel. Here's the problem, though. He's not a nickel corner. And, I would say out of Darian Porter, Eric Stokes, Jacorian Bennett, and then you throw Decamerion Richardson in that, I would say Richardson, in terms of the skill set that they bring to the table, is probably the least likely to play in the nickel. I think Jacorian would be a better nickel. I think Stokes would be a better nickel. I think Darian Porter could be a better nickel than somebody like Decamerion Richardson. But that doesn't mean that they're not going to have value to this football team, because I'll tell you this, I do really honestly think that Richardson is going to have a big impact on this football team. I just think it's going to be on special teams for year one with this regime, because defense, he's going to get opportunities. And the Raiders are going to put guys out there, and they're going to have to compete, and they're going to have to show up, because there's a lot of other guys waiting in the wings to take advantage of that job. So even though I do not think that he's going to start on defense, he's got to continue to work, and if he goes out there and he proves that he's the best guy, yes, he will get that opportunity. I just don't think that opportunity is going to happen, and that's my 2 cents, but he will be a starter on special teams. When you have that long athletic ability, I think Richardson is going to get molded into being one of the better gunners in the NFL because of the new kick return, the new punt return, all these new rules that we're seeing on special teams. So overall, before I get out of here, is A.J. Cole the best Raiders punter ever? We're talking about it, and right now it's trending in that direction. I'm still going to give the advantage to Shane Leckler. Football return to the Oakland. If the Oakland Invaders even have a shot, and if Tom Brady's the one running it, the guy that did the entire tuck roll, you better make it silver and black. Get rid of the Chargers knockoff brand logo that we're working with. Get a shield, put Invaders in it. It's the only way it's going to sell. And then is Decamerion Richardson going to be starting this season? Special teams, yes. On defense, unfortunately, I'm going to go with no. All right, man, we got some really, really good NBA playoff series going on right now. We got 500 people in the building. How do y'all think the Thunder and T-Wolves series ends? Do you think it's OKC in 5? Type 5. Do you think it's OKC in 6? Type 6. If you think it's OKC in 7, I need you to type OKC in 7, Minnesota in 7. Chugs, where do you lean?
Minnesota in 7.
Get out of here.
What?
There's a better chance Aiden O'Connell wins MVP last year. No, I don't believe that. DeMokes is like, hey, man, you got a shot. I'll say OKC in 5. I think they close it out.
I just, a part of me wishes it would go to 7. Just to
completely agree.
Just because you want good television.
I want good television. I want a good game. Also, are you giving credit to Game 4 right now? For those that don't know, OKC is up 3-1 over the Wolves. Do you give credit to the Thunder defense for shutting down Anthony Edwards, or do you put blame on Anthony Edwards for not being more aggressive? Both can be true.
I mean, I said it in there, and the NBA heads were kind of like, oh, you got to credit the defense more. In my opinion, it's like you got to go above and beyond in basketball. Like, that's the thing is, like, if you're one of the there's only 5 guys out there. You're one of the best in the league.
Yep.
You should be able to elevate your game and score in the 30s. If you want to say that you're a top, which there's people out there, Anthony Edwards, I'm pretty sure will put himself in this category. If you think you're a top 5 player in the league,
yep,
you can't put a dud out there.
So I asked this question the other day out there to the NBA guys, and I said, if you could build a team right now, would you want Anthony Edwards or Cooper Flagg? And it was, I would say, pretty anonymous. Anthony Edwards was the answer. My point is, like, if you're willing to give up the number 1 overall pick, I need that guy then to go out there and try to dominate a game. 2 shots in the first half. That can't happen.
Yeah.
Like, 2 shots in the first half. And I would love, I didn't mean to cut you off. I would love to look at, through the history of guys like Kobe, guys like Michael. LeBron plays a little bit different a brand of basketball than those 2 guys, but I honestly think that Anthony Edwards gets brought up as like this cold-blooded, like, playoff killer. How many times in a playoff game did those 2 guys have 2 shots going into halftime? I'd be willing to say 0. I don't think that there was ever a chance
the other thing
that happened.
And this is just from me playing basketball in middle school and high school,
Yep.
the thing that I can't stand about the T-Wolves and Anthony Edwards in general is every time they're going into the lane, jump pass. Like, they'll jump in the air, not know what to do, and they just throw the ball in the air. It's like, what are you doing?
I'm with you.
Like, why are we jumping in the air, not knowing what we're doing, and just, like, flailing?
Yeah, it puts people in a really bad spot, but it doesn't only put, the guy in the air in a bad spot. It puts everybody around him because then they're like, for shooters, when I played, I was a shooter. So when I used to set up, I would kind of just sit and hang out, and if somebody got in trouble, you got to move to that person where that kind of takes you out of your offense. But you got to give the Thunder credit. Yeah. I think they clearly look like the best team in the NBA right now, and I don't think the Pacers or Knicks are going to be able to beat them. I really don't.
Agreed.
All right, we got some people here getting in the duck race, which you already know I love to see. Right now, we got Crash Dog, Anthony Green, Victor Lobos, Matt Sitter, Richard Engel, and Patrick Roche all in the duck race, which means it is a $10 Venmo right now for an opportunity to go home with $30 here on today's show. And again, it's going to be a little bit of a smaller duck race, going to be a little bit of a smaller pot. I do have to try to get out of here a little bit earlier today just because of my fiance's family. Well, not too often do I get an opportunity to go to a free sporting event. But Alex's sister works for American Airlines, and American Airlines gave all their people tickets to the game tonight. So we get to go to the game for free. Rangers, I don't even know who they play, though.
Some NFL news just happened. And also, I have a little gripe with this news.
Okay.
Particularly the naming of this team. So the Denver Broncos just announced that they're inducting Demaryius Thomas into their Hall of Fame.
Yep.
This is what they put out. They call it their Ring of Fame.
Ring of Fame.
I feel like somebody messed up. It's Ring of Honor or Hall of Fame?
Ring of Fame.
Yeah, Ring of Fame. What the hell is that? I feel like it's either Ring of Honor or Hall of Fame.
I literally think they were like, we just got to marry him together.
It's like if I was it's like if I came with you, it's like, what's down? You're like,
the sickness is the only proper answer.
Yeah, like I don't.
What? So I mean, what was it? The Ring of Fame?
They call it, and it's. I'm not getting ball sacked because it's literally their post that they put out on the top. It says,
"What's better, Ring of Fame or Hall of Honor?"
Ring of Fame.
Yeah, that's weird, dude.
What?
I mean, again, you gotta leave it to the Broncos fans. Leave it to a Broncos fan to F up maybe one of the most simple things you possibly could.
I'm tweeting this out.
You're like, more people have to see this. I got Gary. What up, Gary? Gary Backus. I got you in the race, my man. Sean Irish. Sean, appreciate you. Mark Call. I got you in. That means, Charles, you're also in. $10 Venmo for an opportunity to go home with $50 here on today's Raiders Report. Robert Joseph, what up, man? What up, Fidel? I see you down there below. Love, love, love all y'all hanging out with us today. If you want to shout out here on the Raiders Report, who's rocking with us on May 27th? And for those of you that do not remember or know, every $5 super chat that we get on live, we are doing an Ashton Genty jersey raffle this Friday. This Friday, Week 4 Madden Sim, it's against the Chicago Bears, so be on the lookout for that. But we are also going to be giving away an Ashton Genty jersey this Friday. If you're like, oh, man, that's the first time I've heard about it. $5 super chat or super thanks, and you're entered in for a chance to win. What up, Misty Zalesbo down there below? Trouble Nation, Jeremy Cole, Ed Robbins in the building. Seth, I see you. I appreciate you. Scott Fratz, Scott from Oklahoma. OU, Boomer. Misty, Chip Hall, Emmanuel Sanchez. Appreciate, again, all of y'all tuning in to the Raiders Report in May.
We'd
That's
like
crazy
to induct you into the Hall of Honor.
I'll tell you this. Once this new studio in here just gets made up, I say we make a Raiders Ring of Honor. Or no, that makes too much. Ring of Fame.
Fame.
I can't even say it wrong. A Ring of Fame. It sounds awful. It sounds like you can't even. I actually think I almost wonder if it's a typo. No, there's no way.
Yeah, they put it out, and it's for somebody who passed away.
Yeah, no, you're right.
That'd be a massive mistake.
Yeah, at that point you can't, man. Robert Joseph, put me in again, baby. What up, Mitch and Chugs? Thanks again for another good
it's
show.
It's not happy birthday. It's joyous birthday.
Trying to think of another one. Joyous birthday. That would be.
Have a joyous birthday.
How would you sing that song?
Joyous birthday to you. A joyous birthday to you. A joyous birthday for person. A joyous birthday to you.
All right, we're going to have to start singing a joyous birthday from now on. Rebel, hey, we want a Knicks win. Go New York, go New York, go New York. You can't even. I am such a Knicks fan right now because, again, I want the Knicks to win, obviously for Marsh. I want the Knicks win for Chat Sports because we don't have a Pacers channel, so it's fun to be able to, sit back and watch, one of our channels just continuously grow. I think it's cool. But then I also have a lot of family members that are Knicks fans, and I always, just because I don't pay attention to the NBA like I do the NFL, I always forget the rivalry that is the Knicks and Pacers.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, did you see the story today? We were just talking about it an hour ago. The Pacers fan that stabbed two Knicks fans.
Awful.
What the hell are we doing?
Robert.
Get your shit together, people.
Put me in again, baby. And what's up, Mitch and Chugs? Thanks for another good show.
Robert, you in, Robert. Got a few more super chats to get to, and then I want to get to the final segment here on today's episode, which we're going to talk about Chris Olave, and we're going to talk about Kirk Cousins. Rebel, appreciate you, dude. Lich. Also, Reb, new pick.
I know.
I actually didn't recognize it.
God, we have so many names.
Does he have he's got his Rebel jersey on. Did you notice that? Which, that makes sense, because Rebel sent me that he got the jersey that I sent him the other day. Which, Rebel, I'm still working on sending you the booth one. I'm still trying to locate it. I'm not going to lie to you, man. I'm not going to lie to you. Chef, if the Knicks don't win tonight, it's over in 6 games, maybe in 5.
Yeah, I don't think that's an unpopular opinion. If they go down 3-1.
I mean, especially for a Knicks team that can't win at home. I don't know what their record is at home, but it's significantly better on the road.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it is. I think they actually have a losing record at home at the playoffs this year. Let's go to Justin. What up, Justin? Put me in, please, on the Genty jersey.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
go, Raiders. Banned for 34 years. Let's go, baby. I don't know if you saw a recent interview that Genty did where he kind of projected that he was going to have 1,500 rushing yards and 10 to 20 touchdowns. I don't know if you guys saw that, but the person that interviewed Genty, the blonde woman, her name is Jordan. She actually used to work here at Chat Sports. She was one of the very, very first people that I ever worked with here.
Who?
Jordan Giorgio. She works at CBS now.
Ah.
But she recently just interviewed Genty.
I thought you were talking about Meggie.
Oh, no. No, she also used to work here, yeah. Now, when I first started here back in 2017, she was one of the very first people that I started working here with at Chat Sports, which is pretty wild. Now, yeah, she just interviewed Genty the other day on CBS Sports. Let's go to Truth Bomb. Woo! Hypothetically, if Shadeur Sanders gets cut, what is your stance on the Raiders getting him, seeing rumors on him possibly getting cut? Here's the thing. I would say 0% chance the Raiders are interested in Shadeur, and I only say that because the Raiders passed on Shadeur how many times in the NFL draft. The other reason why it won't happen is because this regime, this organization, wants you to buy in to Geno Smith. And if they go out and they get a quarterback who just got cut, by the way, again, if you're getting cut on the Cleveland Browns, a team that right now's quarterback room is Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel,
Shadeur,
right?
If you're an injured Deshaun Watson,
if you're a quarterback getting cut on that team, I don't see how there's an NFL team out there that wants you necessarily, right? But then also, like, would Shadeur make money for the Raiders? Yeah, he would. But then there's that other side of it, and because of the money side, the Browns aren't going to cut Shadeur. I think the only way the Browns cut Shadeur is if Shadeur is that much of a headache, like, at the team facility.
I think he's going to have to fail on national TV for them to cut it.
I agree.
Like, I think it's going to have to be like preseason, he throws 5 picks.
And I think it always have to be worse. Like, he would have to be such a disaster because of the backlash that the Browns would get if they honestly cut Shadeur Sanders before the season started. Now, again, they gave him the contract. They kind of already guaranteed the contract and whatnot. All draftees' contracts are guaranteed, but I would be shocked if the Raiders brought in Shadeur, just because if you brought Shadeur in, you are instantly going to pin part of the fan base against each other, which is one of the very, very last things this organization wants to do. But, Chugs and I try to tell people, Shadeur rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. We even talked about, we were talking about Shiloh and some of the shit he was saying at Big 12 Media Day, and that ended up, being true.
I mean, yeah, I was interviewing Aaron Wilson, who's like an NFL insider, and he told us before the draft that apparently Shadeur had a horrendous interview with the Steelers, that they took him off their draft board, which kind of shows in how things laid out.
Yeah.
And apparently it had nothing to do with his personality. Apparently he wasn't even ready for the meeting. They came up and were like, hey, can you draw this on the board? And he was like, no.
Yeah.
They're like, well, why?
And I think, that's to me, that's where Shadeur just needs to mature a little bit.
Like,
where
would you even want that guy on your team?
No, again, the only way Shadeur works in the NFL is if he is truly a sicko in terms of putting in the extra time, putting in the extra effort. And when you hear that he showed up unprepared to a lot of the meetings that he had, that's worrisome. And that's the truth.
We're hiring at Chat Sports.
That's a truth bomb.
Chatsports.com/Raiders producer. Right. I promise you this. If you came in and we asked you to prepare something and you didn't have it ready, you wouldn't get the job.
You're not going to get the job. That's just the truth.
I mean, that's just life.
Let's go to Ed Robbins. Pacers in 5. Knicks are a 1-series trick. I mean, they've already won 2 series, though.
Well, no, they did the same trick on both of them.
Oh.
Yeah.
What is that? What's the...
Hurting the best player on the other team. Jason Tatum, and then I can't remember who they played first.
I can't
Pistons.
Even. The Pistons. Yep, the Pistons. Though Neesmith, he just got banged up. Yoda! Hope everyone had a great Memorial Day. Salute and honor to those who have served and are no longer with us. Let us never forget. And, Yoda, we got a super chat on Friday, and it was from LA Crash Dog, and, he brought up a really good point where, I was super excited for a 3-day weekend, and I think anybody in today's day and age is always excited, for a 3-day weekend. But you always have to sit back and remember why, we have a 3-day weekend. And the more and more time that passes, I always say, you die twice. You die when you die, and you die the last time somebody speaks your name. There's a lot of veterans out there, and, a lot of my old friends, like one of my good buddies who I played baseball with when I was younger. Every single year, I always go to his Instagram. Shout out to my guy, Bryce. And he always posts, people who he served with that were fallen. And I think at any point, if anybody ever wants to, give their flowers to an ex-military man, Navy, whatever it might be, we got a lot of awesome supporters on this show. And I think we got a bunch of real ones that also are always willing to prove that this is way more than just a YouTube channel. We've been able to build a really freaking awesome community because of people like Yoda, because of everybody tuning in and watching this show.
Such wisdom from a yellow donut.
Yeah, which is crazy, man. What's funny is I can always tell how hungry I am based on how my eyes and body react to when Yoda's up on screen.
Yeah.
Like right now, Yoda, I'm not going to lie. You're kind of getting me going right now.
Oh,
I kind of want to get into that cream.
With that being said, speaking of cream, let's talk about the latest NFL news and rumors around Chris Olave, Kirk Cousins, and much more as Crash Dog sending in the 2. Semper Fi, good looking out, bro. Hey, Crash Dog, you're a real one.
An absolute real one. Though, before I do want to say a few people just got in the duck race. Rustin Long, Bridget, June Romero, Richard Engel, Jonathan Smith. $10 Venmo right now for an opportunity to go home with $75 here on today's episode. Let's get into some rumors coming up here on today's show. It's going to be a little bit of a fun one. Hopefully you guys appreciate the content that we're putting together on today's episode. Coming up today here on the Raiders Report, Chris Olave trade rumors. Does it make sense for the Silver and Black to go out and try to get the Saints wide receiver? And then at the very end of today's show, Kirk Cousins news impacts the Las Vegas Raiders. And if you don't think that it does, personally, I think you live underneath a rock. I always want people to subscribe to the Raiders Report for the latest NFL news, especially this time in the offseason, because all NFL news this time in the offseason is going to impact the Raiders in one way or another. But then also, I always see people talking about craziness over the weekend. And over the weekend, probably the number one thing that I continuously got notifications about was the Raiders. There was a rumor that linked them to Chris Olave and whether or not it made sense for John Spytek and Pete Carroll to go out and try to get him. So the rumor is very much a rumor. I'm going to be transparent. It's not from a credible source. But just because it's not from a credible source doesn't mean that a lot of people are talking about it. Because a lot of people are talking about right now Chris Olave potentially getting traded to the Raiders. Again, nobody from the Raiders organization is talking about it, but social media is talking about it. So the fact that Olave has been linked to the Silver and Black then also brings up the idea of, well, I've heard Amari Cooper being linked to the Raiders. I've heard Keenan Allen being linked to the Raiders. Me personally, I think wide receivers are being linked to the Silver and Black because people don't understand what the Raiders did this offseason with Jack Besh, Dante Thornton, Tommy Millott. And I think our wide receiver room is already pretty set in stone. But then also, anytime a player brings up, hey, at one point, I would love to go play for that team. And if you don't remember, back during the draft process, Olave in 2022 said that he would love to play for the Raiders because his older brother is a fan. Now, I think anytime Chris Olave trade rumors get brought up, the Raiders are a team that gets linked. Now, when you look at his numbers from a career standpoint, he was really good his first 2 years in the league coming out of Ohio State in 2022 and in 2023. Year 3 is typically known as the breakout year for a receiver. And when you're putting up numbers like the numbers that Olave has up on screen, you are anticipating that this is going to be one of the better young wide receivers in the National Football League because you're hoping that he's going to be able to get better and better and better. So after looking at the numbers that you see up on screen, I'm going to hit you all with a question, and this will be the number one question, the pinned comment on today's show. I want you to type trade or pass. Will the Raiders trade for Chris Olave? My answer coming up right here after this YouTube ad break. I'm going to pass this one. Not that I don't like the player that Olave is. And if you want to see a trade that I put out on social media at Mitchell Renz 365, I was kind of going back and forth with our Saints guy here from Chat Sports, Trace Gerard, of what I could potentially offer New Orleans. But I really do not think that Pete Carroll, Spytek are going to be interested in going out and getting Olave. Not saying that he's not a good player. I just don't think that this regime is going to do it. The first reason why I would say it's not going to happen, the Raiders are a lot more confident in the wide receivers in that room than I think people outside of the media actually realize. Like, people that follow the Silver and Black probably heard this Chris Olave rumor like, oh, man, here we go again with these wide receiver rumors. And I kind of agree with you because this team likes Jack Besh a lot. They like the deep field ability of Dante Thornton Jr. Also, Chip Kelly's first recruit ever, Kyle Phillips, who they added earlier this offseason. Tommy Millott's been looking really solid in the slot. Trey Tucker has been a dog at OTAs, and we're hoping that he can put it together. So this is a wide receiver room that doesn't get nearly the amount of respect from outside of this Raiders organization. So I wanted to be able to reiterate yet again that the Raiders are confident in their receivers, and I think the only way that an Olave trade were to happen is if after OTAs, after minicamp, and then we're sitting there right before July, and we're going, wow, our wide receivers are bad. To me, though, I don't think that that's going to happen. Let's go to another reason here of why I don't think the trade ends up going down. It's the trade cost. And I will break down the dollars and cents side of it, but if the reports are true that New Orleans is looking for a day 2 pick, so that's either round 2 or round 3, I don't see how on earth the Raiders go, we gave up a 3rd-round pick for our quarterback, so now let's give up a round 2 pick or a round 3 pick for a wide receiver. And again, Olave is a good receiver. I'm not trying to get that twisted, but if the Raiders go out and they trade for Olave, not only do they have to give up, let's say, a day 2 pick, let's say it's round 3, you're going to have to pay him this season. Not a lot of money. $3.3 million. This is what it's going to count against the cap for the Silver and Black, just way the contract gets broken down for Olave. And because New Orleans already exercised that 5th-year option with him, you're already on hook for the $15.5 million. So, essentially, it's not that much money for 2 years of a good receiver if he's able to stay healthy. But then I'd also go, well, if you're going to go out and make that deal for Olave, there's a part of me that I would say save the draft capital and that money that you would use to invest in Olave, because in my mind, if you're trading for him, that tells me that you're not only looking for that 2 years, you're looking at beyond that. I also would want the Raiders to go out and get a deal done with Jacoby Myers. I think that honestly might rub Myers the wrong way. But the biggest reason, the number one reason why I really don't think that the trade ends up going down, it's the health concerns around Olave. And if we're going to be an offense that's predicated on being a physical FU brand style of football, we need our wide receivers to also buy into that. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to go out and trade for a guy that has had the amount of concussions that Olave has had, especially recently, right? Remember the fall off of Hunter Renfrow? That would be my concern of what we're going to see with Olave, where there's just a little bit of fall off. And don't get me wrong, the reports from Renfrow, he looks pretty damn good, and I'm happy for him in Carolina. But he suffered 2 concussions last season, played in only 8 games, Olave. Olave has had a concussion in each of his first 3 seasons. 4 noted concussions in the NFL, and he also suffered a noted concussion at Ohio State in 2020. So this is 5 known concussions since 2020. The reason why I throw out the word known is because I guarantee you, anybody that's ever played football or anybody that knows somebody that has played football, the difference between known concussions and just concussions in general, the fact that we know about 5 tells me that there's so much more. Because any of my buddies that have played football, any of the players that I've talked to that either are in the NFL or at college, when I talk to them, they're like, oh yeah, I suffered way more concussions that were actually ever reported. So the fact that we know that these injuries are already starting to rattle up for Olave, on top of the fact that we're trying to play this tough you mother effer style of football, I just don't think it makes a lot of sense for the Silver and Black. I also just don't think it makes a lot of sense for Chris Olave. Now, if you told me you could turn injuries off like we're doing Madden style, I think Olave would be a phenomenal fit with Geno Smith and this offense. Coming up next here on the show, let's get into the Kirk Cousins news that could potentially impact the Silver and Black this upcoming season. And again, I know this is the Raiders report, and I know we talked about Olave, and I know we're about to talk about Cousins. It's also the offseason, and I want to do my best here to keep up to date on all things going on around the NFL, not just the Raiders in the offseason. Before we get into the Cousins rumors, if you're looking for Raiders gear, whether that be a hat, a sweatshirt, t-shirt, shorts, if your significant other needs some Raiders gear, like a purse or, I don't know, I saw a crop top the other day that, I'm going to be honest, I think Alex would look really freaking good in it. If you're trying to get some clothes, whatever it might be, we got Raiders gear on sale at chatsports.com/Raider sale. That link's going to be available to y'all down in the comments, down in the description. I also bring this up because Father's Day is right around the corner, and for me personally, I really don't buy a lot of things. I really don't. I got my wedding coming up here very soon, which, crazy enough, at the time that I'm recording this, 10 days away, and I get married. But I don't buy a lot of things for myself. The only things that I really buy myself, honestly, are probably Raider stuff at this point. So if you see something that's on sale that you like, hey, put it in your bag, get it for yourself, give a little Father's Day gift to yourself. Chatsports.com/Raider sale. So let's go to the news here around Kirk Cousins if you didn't see what it was. And there was a report that came out on May 27th that Raheem Morris says he has not seen quarterback Kirk Cousins yet today, as the Falcons are set to begin their first OTA practice in a little bit. Then Tom Pelissero chimed in on that tweet and said, the first practice of Falcons OTAs is now underway, and Kirk Cousins is not on the field. Cousins has made clear he wants to play elsewhere in 2025. So, yes, I know that the Raiders are not going to get Cousins, and that's not what I'm trying to do here with this show. Geno Smith is light years of a better quarterback than Cousins. I have no interest in Kirk Cousins. And I'm not saying that the Kirk Cousins news impacts the Raiders because the Raiders could go out and get him. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying because Cousins right now is on the Atlanta Falcons and he's on or in the NFC, that impacts the Raiders because the Raiders, for one, don't play Atlanta this season. He's also in the NFC, which means to me, you can say what you want about Cousins. I think he's a top 32 quarterback in the NFL. And because I think he's a top 32 quarterback in the NFL, if he goes elsewhere, he's going to make a team that needs a QB better. So because we don't play the Falcons, because Atlanta's in the NFC, and because the Falcons don't play anybody from the AFC West, Kirk Cousins, if he stays with Atlanta, doesn't really have an impact on us. The fact that he wants to leave and the fact that I think he wants to leave, he might leave, and the teams that would try to go out and get him, that's where I think that the Raiders could be impacted here. So let's talk about the trade suitors. And I'll be real, Cousins has a no-trade clause. I think any team that if they were to offer, Atlanta literally anything, Atlanta's going to do it because they're going to want to get out of this situation. But I would say these are the teams that make the most sense for Cousins. First off, we talk about New Orleans and inter-trades, inter-division trades don't really happen often. But maybe Atlanta thinks that they're just going to screw New Orleans by just giving them that contract. But Tyler Shuck or Kirk Cousins? Kirk Cousins is a better quarterback. J.J. McCarthy with Minnesota. There's a lot of, rumors going on around McCarthy. But then again, why the hell would you move on from Sam Darnold, the 35-touchdown quarterback, if you weren't confident in McCarthy? To me, legitimately, the top three teams most likely to trade for Kirk Cousins, the Cleveland Browns, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Indianapolis Colts. What do all those three teams have in common? And if you want to go through, you want to look at depth charts, if you want to go through and you want to look at which teams need a potential quarterback, please go ahead and do it. I did it. I tried to go through the exercise myself, and these were the top three teams that I thought just made the most sense. The Browns have Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, Shadeur Sanders, and Dylan Gabriel. That's a bad quarterback room. I think Cousins is the best quarterback on that roster. Again, Deshaun Watson, he's unhealthy. He's not going to play this season. Pittsburgh Steelers, they've been rumored to go get Aaron Rodgers. I still think that Rodgers ends up in Pittsburgh. But if Rodgers doesn't go to the Steelers, then if I'm Mike Tomlin, if I'm Pittsburgh, I'm going, well, Kirk Cousins, are you available? Maybe that's a realm. And then the Indianapolis Colts, they have Anthony Richardson, and they have Daniel Jones. Kirk Cousins is better than both of those guys in my book. So if you think about the trade, okay, and I do think that if this trade ends up going down, it's going to happen after June 1st. It's not going to happen before just because, again, the way that the contract works out, and you're going to hear more and more, I think, Cousins trade rumors piling up leading up to that June 1st deadline because if a trade happens, Atlanta saves $27.5 million and they eat only $12.5. The new team that would acquire Cousins pays him $27.5 million in 2025. So again, you're not acquiring Cousins to be a backup. He wants to be a starter. So you're acquiring him to be a starter. There's not many teams that want Cousins, especially the way that he ended that year as a starter at $27.5 million. Also, if you trade for him, you're taking on his contract in 2026 and 2027. You can get out of it easily, but $57.5 million cap hit for Kirk Cousins, I think just goes to show how good that deal is for Geno Smith. So I want you all to look into your crystal balls here and predict which team goes out and gets Cousins. Or you think he's just going to stay at Atlanta? Is he going to be the backup to Michael Penix Jr.? Let me know down below what team will Kirk Cousins be on this upcoming season. There's a part of me that goes, he's going to stay with Atlanta because I just can't imagine a team being interested in going out and getting him. But then again, if a trade does end up going down, I think the AFC is going to get stronger. And the fact that the AFC could get stronger, that's worrisome to me because I don't look at a team like the Browns as being a playoff caliber team. I don't look at the Pittsburgh Steelers right now with their quarterback situation. I get it. Pittsburgh's got a great defense, but I think Pittsburgh is in the exact same situation the Raiders were in last year where, yeah, you had a great defense, but if your quarterback sucks, if your quarterback's Mason Rudolph, you're not making the playoffs. I'm sorry, even if you've had Mike Tomlin for 17 years and he's never had to lose, you're not making the playoffs. Indianapolis Colts, I also don't view them as a playoff caliber team. Cousins, though, you put him with the Browns, you put him with the Steelers, you put him with Indy, there's at least a chance that it could happen. But then also, if Cousins does go to one of those teams, the Raiders' schedule gets tougher because Cousins on the Browns is a better football team than the Browns currently are right now. Cousins on the Indianapolis Colts, I also think, are a better football team than what they are right now. So to me, that's why I think the Kirk Cousins news impacts the Raiders, because I believe that Cousins ends up going to either the Browns or the Indianapolis Colts, which makes the Raiders' schedule tougher. Because for the Silver and Black, they end up playing the Indianapolis Colts in Week 5, and then you got the Cleveland Browns in Week 12. Both of those games, when I look at them right now on this schedule, I expect the Raiders to win. I expect the Raiders to beat Indy, and I expect the Raiders to beat Cleveland. It's not too often can you look at a Raiders schedule and have a game circled and go, I expect them to win that game. And, maybe that's even unfair for me to say that based off of how bad the Raiders have been in years past, but then it's also because I don't have a lot of faith in Indy. I don't have a lot of faith right now in Cleveland. But Cousins going to those teams, it makes them better, which then makes it a little bit more of a question mark of whether or not the Silver and Black are going to be able to get a dubs. Those are 2 weeks that we really need to make sure that we're getting a win, especially that Week 12 game, because you look at the Raiders' schedule from Week 13 all the way to Week 18, a lot of tough football games in there. Appreciate, again, everybody who tuned in to the Raiders Report. If you do not know, I am going to be live this upcoming Friday during a Madden stream. We'll also be live on Thursday, but we are going to be giving away an Ashton Genty jersey this Friday. $5 super chat or a $5 super thanks in order for your shot to win it. Good luck to everybody, and appreciate for everyone tuning in to the Raiders Report. All right, y'all, let's talk about the Eastern Conference Finals. Woo! Because we got the Knicks, we got the Pacers tonight. Knicks down 2-1. Who you got?
Yep.
Where are we going? I gotta go. I gotta go Knicks. Gotta go Knicks. I need the Knicks. This is, if you were to ask me which series would I care about more going 7, it's this one, and it's not close.
Yeah.
It's Knicks Pacers. I need a Knicks win. Ed's gonna go Indy. Chip Paul's gonna go Indy. Lot of Pacers down below.
Yeah. I did not realize the Pacers-Raiders overlap.
I almost wonder if it's that or if it's just people just hate the Knicks.
Yeah, maybe. Reminder, because we are getting out of here soon.
Yep.
Because Mitch has got some family plans tonight.
Yes.
Last chance. Venmo at Mitchell Renz 365 to get in. We do have a couple super chats that I'm going to roll through as well. LA Crash Dog, we read this one before, but we didn't have it loaded up. So
appreciate you, Gunny.
Appreciate you. Dylan says, they keep saying wide receiver Jack Besh has been getting open a lot and killing it in practice. So do you think he's going to be great, or is this more about us not having great CBs? It kind of ties into what you were just talking about with Olave.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think Jack Besh is a lot better than what people realize, and Besh is another player that the more and more you watch him and when you understand, I think, what the Raiders are trying to do this season, it just makes sense. Like, the puzzle pieces, they're starting to fit together for me in my mind. I think it's probably a mix of a little bit of everything, right, where Jack Besh has got to learn a new offense, so credit to him. I also think that the Raiders' offense is better than the Raiders' defense, but then there's also a lot of, what's a good way to put it? Unknowns, right, in that secondary, and there's no doubt about it. But I do think Besh is going to surprise a lot of people, and he's going to surprise a lot of people early on. But at the exact same time, I don't want to get overexcited about what I hear in the offseason, and I only say that because the reports last year about the Raiders defense, you would have thought, I definitely thought that this defense has a shot to be the best defense in the NFL. Now, the defense is good, and the defense would have been a lot better last year, but the defense also looked great because they were going up against Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell and a Luke Getsy offense. So both things can be true to what you're saying, but I really think Besh is going to surprise a lot of people, and I think Besh is going to be the reason why the Raiders don't go out and trade for a Chris Olave, why the Raiders don't go out and sign a Keenan Allen. Besh is impressing a lot of people early on very quickly. Let's go to Caleb. Going to pick up a guitar near Dallas Saturday. Going to rock my Nnamdi Asomugha jersey. Hell yeah. I don't know. Near Dallas. I'm guessing that's probably like 20 to 30 minutes out. Yeah, that's true. Fort Worth. I'll tell you this, man. If anybody's ever in the Dallas area, Not this weekend. This weekend for me is an absolute no-go.
Next weekend.
Next weekend's even more of a no-go. I can't even imagine if I were. Hey, Alex.
The weekend after that?
There's a chance. Probably still slim. But there's at least more of a chance. Bayou Raider 76, the Stockyards. Dude, Stockyards are a lot of fun, and that would be my guess of where he's picking up that guitar. All right, y'all. Let's get the people in here for the duck race. The last name that I got was Jonathan Smith. I also saw Philip Bogert got in, and then Misty Williamson also in, which means it is a $10 Venmo for a chance to go home with $85 here on today's show. $85 going in somebody's pocket.
Eric, I will be live streaming the wedding off my phone.
Probably not. Probably not. Though I wouldn't want you to do that because I wouldn't want you to do that. I want you to have a fun time.
No, I know. It'll just be a GoPro.
Oh, that's sick. So, well, then that's totally fine. Nothing could be
You
wrong.
just look out as you're saying your vows, and it's just me with a GoPro.
Can you bang real quick? I mean,
I vow to love and to bang.
Definitely vows. I still have to write my vows. I have a bunch of vows written down, like of things that I've thought about in my mind, and I have to put everything down to pen and paper.
Evil AJ Hawk. If not the wedding, could you at least stream the honeymoon?
You know, it's actually funny you bring that up because I was talking to Alex about our honeymoon this past weekend, and it's not impossible that I might get the okay to go live for an hour. And I only say that because there is a time where I booked Alex a massage where I'm massage guy is not me, right? Like I don't need strangers touching me, and if I want an hour massage, I'd rather just Alex do it personally. So like she's going to go off, she's going to get like a 2-hour massage on our honeymoon. In that time, there is a chance that I could go live on the Raiders Report. I'm not kidding you. And I think it'd be kind of fun. At that point, though, I don't know what point in the trip that is. I don't know if that's early on or at the end.
Suavemente with the vibes and a new profile pic.
A new profile pic for Suave. Okay. Uh-oh. Hide your kids. Hide your wife. All right, we got a few more people getting in the duck race, and then I'm going to send the list to my man Chugs. Carlos Carpenter, I got you in. Suavemente, I got you in. Manuel Ruiz, you're in twice. I got you in. All right, Chugs. I'm going to send you the names, which right now it's 10 to win $105 on today's episode. Though I did actually go live on vacation way back in the day. I was at probably like 10,000. I don't even know if I was at 10,000, maybe 12,000 people on YouTube subscribers. I was in Mexico, which that is a crazy story in itself. And I was live walking around a resort, and I remember I had like my Raiders swim trunks on, and there was a Raiders fan at the resort yelling at me while I was live. Now, I don't think that they knew who I was, but they were yelling at me. They said they knew who I was, but I don't believe them. I didn't believe them. All right, man, we got to... What is it, Dragon?
Dragon Tales.
Dragon Tales. Jaime Alvarado says, I remember. That's wild, man.
Last check?
Last check, I need you to add Darian. So that means winner goes home with 110. Yep, 110. And then friendly reminder that the next time that we will be live is on Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. All right. You ready? Here we go. Rebel. See sucker-free Raider chat. Sucker-free Raider chat. Sorry, Mitch. I haven't been watching the lives lately. After losing my aunt, I lost her son, my cousin, and my best friend all 2-week span. I really could use some prayer. Sucker-free. Bro, I am super sorry about your loss, man. But again, I always say this. I appreciate when people feel like they can express themselves on this show because it's easy to be excited. It's easy to show people when you're happy. I'll always know, like, again, we're doing the extra when people are able to share stuff like that. So if you guys could, put some prayer emojis down below. And if anybody ever sees Sucker Free in the comments, he's a real one here, make sure you always show him love for the rest of the month, for the rest of the year. Charles G. I don't think you're going to win here, Charles. I'm going to be honest. You're going to fall back a little bit. Ruiz, interesting spot. Sean, Jonathan Smith. For a second, I thought that was Karl Anthony Towns. No, look pass. Holy shit. Jonathan Smith. Mr. Smith, congrats to you, my guy. Congrats to you, my guy. Jonathan, if you could please confirm down below that you just received. Well, I actually sent you $5 extra, so congratulations, Jonathan. You got 110. I was supposed to send you 105. Though, I'll tell you this, he's racing a lot, so I'm glad that he's in. Actually, Jonathan, is that your first win? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 races. First win, Jonathan Smith. Which I think you might have just got back your money. Actually, not even. You got to keep racing, Jonathan. You got to keep racing, dude. Also, happy that somebody from the military background was able to win that money. Awesome stuff.
Oh, yeah?
All right, so I got to hop on out of here. Again, I apologize for the short show. I got some family stuff that I got to go.
It's not about the size of the show. It's about how you use it.
You're not wrong. And you know what? I want to keep this shit show going, but I want to continue it over on our Knicks channel. If you don't know, we will be live on our Knicks YouTube stream. It's going to be unbelievable, man. Look up Knicks Chat Sports. Go subscribe over there. Go party with Rebel Montana and my guy Marshall Green and root for the Knicks to take on the Pacers. Or you can really troll Marshall because he's the number one person I would say to troll at Chat Sports.
Yeah, he doesn't get pissed at all when his team loses.
You're probably up there too. I'm not gonna lie. Or Coop. Yeah.
I would say Marsh and Rolly are the two worst if their teams lose.
Rolly's up there too. Yeah, I mean, before the Mavs traded Luka, I would have said Coop's up there.
Yeah.
But now I think he roots for the – I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that. All right, guys. If you're going to watch the Rangers game, be on the lookout for me. I have no idea where I'm going to be sitting, but I'll be wearing a Raiders hat. So.
All right, I got to go. King Javier, and we're out.
And we're out.